And welcome back to the Tom and D podcast. I am Tom Fry. This is Darren Abram, and I am still surrounded by boxes. Obviously, this is a slower process, this whole moving business than I thought, but you should see the part that's off camera. It looks great.
Oh, so you just put a pile behind the camera?
I just basically, if I can't figure out where to put something, I put it behind where we shoot the podcast. So
that's perfect.
Because I figure it's kind of like Sanford and Son in the 21st century.
Right. Well, we're
Lamont, you big dummy.
Big dummy. Yeah, well, we're living up to our reputation as two middle-aged idiots.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Tom and D.
Two middle-aged idiots.
I want to bring on our guest because this is one of my favorite people on the planet. And not just because he's super talented in so many ways, but I think we're connected, on this deeper level by this this director, one of my favorite directors on the planet that I had the pleasure of working with for many years, Bob Clark.
Yeah, he did Porky's. He did Christmas Story. He's classic, man.
Funny that you mentioned those two, because a lot of people, have heard the critics say, like, how could somebody like Bob Clark do a movie that is like A Christmas Story and then do something that's so irreverent like Porky's?
Like Porky's. And Porky's too.
Right.
Don't forget that one.
But I asked Bob that very question, and he said, it's really just, in a way, the same kids just grown up. Right. Obviously it's not a continuation. It's not a sequel. It's not literally the same kids, but they're just at a different age, and in many ways that he's right. I also told Bob, who made one of the worst movies ever made, Rhinestone, where Dolly Parton fought and Sylvester Stallone sang. Go figure out that
what's going on there, man. Reversal.
I told him that I actually liked that movie, and he just turned around without missing a beat and said, it takes all kinds.
Well, bring our guest on.
Okay, Ian Petrella. I want to bring him on and see if you know who Ian Petrella is. Hi, Ian.
Well, he's aged a lot since Christmas Story.
Yeah. Should I give him a hint?
Yeah. Okay. So
there it is. Is that actually the one from the movie?
Yeah, that is.
So describe to the audience what you held up for our listening audience.
Okay. So this is called a Zeppelin. And my character got it for
lead.
It looks like it's made of lead.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got that on Christmas morning in the Christmas Story, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that would make me Randy, this guy.
Right. Randy.
I found these, and out of all the garbage that they make from this movie now, they made this one. It's a little Christmas ornament. It was put out by Hallmark, and it's really cool because it has these arms that
move.
Oh, nice.
So it's actually really cool, but they discontinued it, so you can't get these anywhere.
So, man, I would have put it on my tree this year.
I know. I'd love to get more of them and give them out to people, because I had a few of them.
So he does the snow angel. It's like his arms.
No. He can't put his arms down.
Yeah,
that's right. He can't put his arms down. That's right.
Right. So the Christmas ornament that Ian held up was the little figure
arms
was
were
unable to put his arms down, just like the character in the movie. Very cute. Love it.
That's cute.
Ian, if you don't mind me just kind of like starting off, again, just describe to the audience what the movie is, what your role is, and how that's related to the characters and the main characters in the film.
Okay, well, my name is Ian Petrella. Got that. I was in Christmas Story. I played Randy Parker, the little brother.
Right.
What was the other part of it?
Oh, I don't know. Just tell me about the family and the movie.
It's the Parker family, and they're all based on Gene Shepard's life. Like, the whole family is based on his, there was a real Randy. Ralphie was him, only he was called Gene. And then he had the mom and dad.
Right.
And so Gene Shepard wrote a bunch of these short stories based on his childhood and growing up, and that's what the movie is based on. And then that's where Bob Clark comes in, because he heard Gene's radio show. He used to have a radio show that he used to do, and that's where Bob. I guess it was the tongue sticking to the flagpole scene that I guess he was listening to. Now, the other thing is, this was back in the 60s or 70s that he heard it, and I guess he was on his way to pick up a date. So he heard it on the radio, and this wasn't like Pandora where you can just, save it and listen to it later. So you have to stay in the car.
Yeah.
And he drove around, I guess, and that's how Christmas Story.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, I hear the end of this story because he was so intrigued by it that he was late for a date. And then that's how he got A Christmas Story.
And that is so Bob to do something like that. You and I had the pleasure of working with him, and
Yes.
he was definitely a character. As a matter of fact, he actually plays a character in the film.
That's right.
Yeah, he was outside. Yeah, Swede. That's right.
His costuming, that was the one thing that was weird, is he didn't dress for the period.
No, because it wasn't until the last minute that he stepped into that. Do you know the story?
I don't know why he was in it, but
if I may.
okay.
So that scene that was written where the leg lamp is in the window, and Darren McGavin's character, the dad, he goes outside to look at it, and he's like, a little to the left, a little, and then he's talking, but Bob realized at the last minute that he needed someone to talk to bounce off of someone and say, it's a major award.
Right.
And so he didn't have anybody, and it sounded weird. So he put himself in there. He's just like, what the hell is that? What is that? It's a major award. A major, the hell you say? So that's it.
Yeah, and I remember when I was there when we were filming that scene, and he said that he was going to be in it, and I pointed out to him, and I said, "But you're not in costume." Because he wasn't. He had a Miami's Dolphins hat, and he had a Chicago firefighters jacket. And I pointed, I said, "You're not in costume," and he just looked at me and said, "It's going to be funny. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the historians won't check. And that's another thing that is so Bob. Like, he was pretty specific about a lot of things until the very last minute. He's like, oh, it's fine. No one's going to notice.
Yeah.
So Darren did a documentary about Bob. Were you in that as well?
Yeah, I am.
So that gave you guys a chance to get to know each other a little bit better.
That's basically how I got to meet Darren.
Oh, wow.
First time meeting. You showed up. You're in Cleveland doing one of our conventions.
To expand on that, because I'm sure Tom is like, what are you talking about, convention? So explain Cleveland, why it's in Cleveland, what's in Cleveland, and what the convention was all about.
Okay, so we shot for 2 weeks in Cleveland, and that was all the exteriors of the house and then Higbee's.
Yeah.
And afterwards, down the road, a man by the name of Brian Jones, who lived in San Diego, California, purchased the house on eBay because it went up for sale. And it didn't look like the house anymore. It was all, vinyl siding, but, his wife, as a joke, because Brian Jones was a huge fan and still is a huge fan of the movie, sent it to him and said, hey, look, the house from A Christmas Story is going up for sale. And she thought that was, just as a joke. Well, he said, nope, I'm going to buy it. So he purchased the house and then turned it into a museum. He re-renovated the whole thing. So now it looks like it's actual movie, self. And now it's a big tourist attraction in Cleveland, Ohio. You can actually go take pictures and walk through the house, and there's a museum with all of our costumes.
And they don't sell your little ornaments there. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy that stuff there as well. The gift shop, they have a gift shop, of course, and so after he purchased the house, he decided let's start doing some conventions in Cleveland. So that was a yearly thing that we used to do. Is me and the cast would go down. You know, Zach Ward, Scott Schwartz, Yano Anaya, and then we had Patty and Drew who played the elves.
Right.
They're both Cleveland natives, and so we would go and every year do these conventions. Fans would come out and sign autographs and take pictures and we'd have some good times, and there'd be some. Then it got to be a little too much, and Brian was like, "We're not doing this anymore."
Wow.
That's it. And so that's how I met Darren. Is he figured, what, we're going to have the whole cast there in one place. Let's shoot this. Let's shoot the documentary, and we can get everybody.
Didn't you have another connection to that house? Didn't you live there at one point?
Yeah, I because I was good friends with Brian Jones. He became one of my best friends. And this was around 2010, 2009, 2010. And he asked me, how things going. I said, and at that point, in life was, really wasn't too much going on. And he said, well, if you're bored, you could always, live in the house and, give tours. And I went, it's real funny,
Wait a minute.
I started thinking about it. I'm like, actually, that is kind of funny. Let's try it. So he flew me out to Cleveland, and you can stay in the house. Like you can rent it for a night and stay.
Wow.
There's a loft upstairs, like a full loft. So you're not actually living in the house. You get a full kitchen, bathroom, shower, bedroom, all that. And so I stayed there for a while. The first couple months, and then I didn't give tours because there's not really much to tour guide there.
Yeah, because the interiors really were filmed somewhere else, so they just kind of like
exactly, yeah.
So made do, yeah.
Yeah, I did Q&As and I hosted them. So and I did that for the first season, summer, and then the winter season. And you do that for like 4 days a week. And, 5 times a day.
Coupled with these childhood memories and reality and fiction. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? You probably ended up hiding under the sink again like you do in the movie.
Yeah, well, people would always ask me, because you can crawl under the sink, and someone asked me one time, it's like, can I get a picture of you under the sink? I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I climb under there. The only problem is when you can't get out because everyone's going, wait, I want one too. Wait, I want one too. So like, guys, I'm not 8 anymore. This hurts to do this.
Right.
So
I'm a full grown man.
Yeah. So my rule that I had from now on is if you make the suggestion to want me on, you have to do it too.
Right.
So but we're both crawling in there together.
And you go first.
You go first.
That's what's interesting about this movie is we do have a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And I always say, I don't have fans. I'm just in a movie that has fans.
Right.
And that's what this is. There are many Ian Petrella fans. There's Christmas Story fans. And I'm like a representative, of the movie when they
right.
So that's how I have to really approach it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is our fans are different than other movie fans. Not that they're worse or they're better. They're just and what I mean different is when you look at a movie, say like Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars has just an insane amount of fans, but the fans of Star Wars, they look up to those characters. Like they look up to Han Solo. They look up to Luke Skywalker. Like these are people that I want to be. I want to live my life. Yeah. I'm going to have the Han Solo philosophy in life. And that's what they do. Where with Christmas Story, it's different. They don't look up to us. They relate to the characters. they grew up in that time, or people will often say, you know what, I had an annoying little brother just like you.
Right.
And that's how they see us. So they don't look up to us, they relate to us. And that's, that's how you have to treat it. It's like, okay, cool.
And I think that that's part of the appeal of A Christmas Story, not just the characters, but it's that nostalgia, the characters or the Christmas lights, something about that setting that is familiar and again, nostalgic from their past or even from their selective memory of thinking that it was their past, even if it wasn't. Because it was set, I believe, in the 40s. It's one of those things that, we can all sort of relate to, especially anybody that's over a certain age,
Yeah, it's definitely a generation marker.
Yeah.
This film.
Absolutely.
People, folks who, were around, the 40s and grew up, the World War II generation really seem to like this film because they'll say like, that was my childhood. I grew up that way. Even the baby boomers, love this movie. And, my mom, she even said, because she was there on the set, she got to see the set, and she would look at some of the different props in the kitchen, and she's like, "Oh, I had that as a kid," And so
right.
A lot of people, look at it that way. And then our generation, Generation X, was just, that was our Christmas movie.
You were 8 years old, did you say, when this was being filmed?
Yeah.
And was this one of the first things you had done, or had you done a few things beforehand, or?
It was the first movie that I have done.
So here you are. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm saying here you are working on this, like, your first movie, but it's not like you were working on, some huge, big budget movie that you knew was going to be, that was going to be big and you were going to make money and get some fame off of it. I mean, this is a lower budget movie.
Right.
I mean, did it kind of take you by surprise, the popularity and the fact that here we are, 40 some odd years later, and it's still every year it's on TV. Every year people come and look at the house in Cleveland. I mean, this is something that you probably had no idea that you were getting involved in something this big.
I don't think too many people, I think when the movie was being made, I don't remember anybody talking about like, oh, this is going to be huge. I think the whole idea of what Bob wanted was like, I just want to make a good movie. That was the thing.
Good movie.
After, once it came out, it didn't explode. That was the other thing. I mean, it was out for like 2 weeks, and then that was it. It just kind of,
Yeah. And they mistimed the release of it too. They did it, I think it was prior to Thanksgiving, if I recall.
It was like Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
And, so it wasn't until maybe 20 years after the movie came out that it really started to become popular.
With VHS.
Yeah, we had there was VHS. So it kind of became this like word of mouth film for a lot of people. It's like, hey, have you seen this movie? No, I haven't seen it. You know what? I got a copy right here. You should check it out.
Right.
And so it kind of built popularity off that. It was almost kind of like it kind of developed its popularity in a sort of indie underground hipster sort of way. And also, with the marathon that happened, that also kind of, gave it a new life. And I think 99 is when they started the marathon. And I remember I had a buddy of mine, and he called me up and he goes, hey, my stepdaughter won't stop watching your movie. And I said, well, just take the tape out of the VCR, come on. And he goes, no, you don't understand. They're playing it over and over and over. Well, what are you talking about? I didn't even know about it.
Right. TBS, right?
Yeah, TBS. Yeah. And they still do it. So they're still doing it. In fact, people on Facebook are like, oh, only 50 more days until the marathon. I'm like, yeah, great. Good for you,
Well, that can't hurt residuals. I mean, if it plays once, you make money, but if it plays for 24 hours straight, then you're like, 24 times what I'd normally get.
I'd love to answer that with a yes, you're right, but no, I don't get money for that. So
you don't?
No,
Was it a buyout or something back then where
Did
they?
get a buyout. There
Okay.
was a buyout. But that was always kind of the thing. Now,
Weird.
Bob's estate does get something,
Yeah.
because he owned 50% of the film.
Oh,
That was the idea. Is MGM only gave him like 2 million or 2.5 million, and then he put up the other 2.5 million to get the budget to 5 million. So that gave him 50% ownership. So he's gonna he gets something off of it, and
Yeah.
anything that comes out of a Christmas Story or Christmas Story related, his estate is going to get money.
Yeah.
We, on the other hand, don't really get anything. I do get something every year, but it's called like a producer rights or something. I don't know, but it's not enough to you get to take the whole year off and say, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? It goes right into the bank, and then that goes right to bills.
Yeah.
It's like 1 month, like a 1 month worth of bills, So
What and anything from merchandising or anything else that could be more contemporary?
I mean, there's a little bit off of merchandising. I don't see anything. I haven't in the past. I think the merchandising is obviously slowed down. It's like, yeah, we do make a little money, but it's not enough to sit there and say we're fine.
yeah. You made more money staying in that house for a year and giving tours,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah. And like I always said, I said, you know what? If if I was doing a Q&A and someone said, do you get any money off of that? And I said, no. I said, if trust me, if I was getting even like 5% of the ad revenue from the marathon, then I probably wouldn't be here.
Right.
No offense, but
Right.
Or
Right.
it would have been my house that would have gone
Right.
down.
Yeah.
I would have been part of
Where did you grow up, by the way?
Los Angeles.
Oh, you grew up there.
Yeah, born and raised. So yeah.
So did you audition in LA with Bob before going
Yeah.
on location?
Yeah, I auditioned a few times, because one, they have one audition, and they didn't really give me much information about the movie. They just said they're casting for a new holiday film, and you're going to be trying out for the role of the little brother. That's it. And because Randy didn't really have a whole lot of lines in the movie, so it wasn't about reading, So they just wanted to see personality. Does the kid have personality, and can he play Peter's brother? That's pretty much all they were looking for. And so I went in. They said, "Okay, we'll let you know." And then I got a call back, and past that, and then I think I went to a third one, and that's when Bob was there. So they were kind of like narrowing down, the group of kids. So now they bring in Bob to really make the decision. So he really liked me, and I had to go up to, I think he was living in Boston at the time. I flew up to Boston for a screen test, and all that was went to his house, and we just, he would put me under the sink and say, now scream this line. And then he pulled out a thing of oatmeal and said, pretend to eat like a pig. And so I would do that. And he's like, congratulations, you're Randy. And that's how that happened.
I can visualize that because that scene with you eating like a little piggy was so famous. And I would think that would be the thing that really would connect it to Bob.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because when he invited you over, Darren, he made you do the same thing. Crawl under the sink, Darren. Eat like a pig.
That was for very different reasons, though. Yeah.
It's too bad that they, people always say, are there going to be DVD extras? And there's not, because all that footage that got cut is gone. And, people, one of the things they always ask is, Randy's laugh, was that fake or was that real? And that was actually my real laugh as a kid. And that was all Bob. He saw that laugh. He wanted that laugh.
Oh yeah.
Anytime Randy was laughing, that was Bob like, okay, we're going to take some time. Let's get Ian. And there's footage of Randy sitting at the table and Bob jumping in and tickling me and then running out and come back in. And we don't have that footage.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And everything that Bob, tried to do. And I remember like this, the Christmas morning when Randy was laughing at Ralphie. And they thought, okay, here's what we're going to do. So they had my mom dress up in the bunny suit to come downstairs to get me to laugh. And at that time, it's like, I knew I was making a movie and I saw my mom come downstairs in the bunny suit. My first reaction was, Mom, you're not supposed to be wearing that. That's, costuming. So, nothing whatsoever. Because I understood we were making a movie, even at 8, it's like, Mom, come on, we're trying to make a movie here.
Right. It's like, you shouldn't be on set, Mom. What the hell?
Yeah, get Peter. That's Peter's costume. Come on.
Right. So what's the relationship like with the cast members today? That sounded like a loaded question because of your laugh.
Well, like anything, I mean, we get along. We're like brothers. We love each other to death. We have this bond. We did this movie when we were kids, and that's always going to be our bond. But we get along. But I'll be honest, and that is we have different personalities. Sometimes when we get together, it's not always we'll argue. We'll have little arguments and everything. But when we did the 40th anniversary, and we had everybody. I mean, we had Peter. Peter came out for this because he doesn't usually do this.
That's Peter Billingsley that played Ralphie.
Yeah, Peter played Ralphie. And then, me, we had Zach Ward, who played Scott. We had Yano Anaya was Grover, Scott Schwartz as Flick, and R.D. Rob Ishworth. So, I mean, all the kids were back. And you know what? It was one of the best times. It's such a good time with those guys. And we all hung out. We all got along. And everybody we just had, fun. And that was, what I wanted is sometimes when you do these signings, it can tend to go to your head a little bit. And I had to take a step back for a while from it because, and not that my ego got out of control, but I just was not having fun doing these for a while. So I had to say, I gotta take a step back and not do this. So the 40th was my first time, coming back out, and it was a blast. I had so much fun.
Right. But then you followed it up with a sequel.
Yes. Well, we did the sequel prior to that.
Oh, okay. Right.
So we had to, because we did the sequel, so it was ready for the 40th anniversary. And we did a sequel, which till this day I'm still amazed that we even did a sequel. This is why I'm not a betting man. Because if somebody would have said, I'll bet you all the money in the world that you guys are going to make a sequel and get everybody back together. And I would have took all the money that I have and said, we will never do this. Here's my bet. Yeah. I would have lost everything. I didn't think you were going to do this.
Right.
So, and how I found out is a friend of mine emailed me a link to the Hollywood Reporter saying Christmas Story Christmas with Peter Billingsley starring and producing is going to be is getting ready to film. And that was in 2022. And I received that in January, and it said production will start in February of 2022. So that's the first time I heard about it.
Right. And you're wondering, is somebody going to contact me?
That's just it, and I figured, okay, well, I didn't get contacted, so I'm not part of it. I don't know. It's a weird business. And so I just said, okay, well, I hope it works out. Congratulations,
Right.
So everybody's asking me about it. I'm like, I don't know anything about it. And then in February, I got a call from Warner Brothers and saying, hey, this is, so-and-so from Warner Brothers, and we want to talk to you about being in the film. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So I talked to the director. He contacted me. We did a interview over Skype. Clay Kiedis, and he said, "Yeah, we'd like to have you, but we have to have you audition." So I had to audition for it.
Oh my God.
He told me, he goes, "It's just, we just need to see what you can do because I didn't really have a whole body of work for them to go off of and say, okay, we see what you acted like as a kid. How do you act as an adult?"
Yeah.
And so I got the lines, and the scene actually was great. What they gave me was really funny. And so I memorized the lines and I practiced and I did my self tape and I turned it in. In fact, the conversation was between me and Ralphie. So what I did is I actually recorded Ralphie's lines on tape and then would play them so that I had something to play off of.
Yeah.
So, I turned it in and everything. And I was like, this is actually a really funny scene. I really like this scene. This is cool. It's like my only scene because that's all I'm in. But I said, for what it is, I really like. Turned it in. And of course, Clay's like, congratulations, you got the part. Like, oh, thank you. And
Right. I was born to play it.
yeah. So they sent me the script, and I'm like, all right. But wow, they changed the scene. So it was all completely changed.
Oh no.
I know. So, but if you've seen the sequel, it was the scene where Randy's in the hotel and he's, kind of, burying his head in the sand about wanting to go home. They had to change it because the original, what they had, he was really more of a jerk to Ralphie. He was like, "Hey, bro, this is on you. I'm not. You got this. I'm not coming home."
Yeah.
And the scene that's in the movie, they switched it around where Ralphie had to, trick Randy into wanting to come home. So I can see why they changed it, and it worked. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was like, he had some really good lines.
Yeah. Well, and full transparency, you and I spoke last week, and you asked me if I had seen the sequel.
Right.
I said, yeah, My Summer Story, because there was a movie that was kind of a sequel called My Summer Story that was put out, and it, no one really tied it to A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
The title was just one or two steps too far, and the cast was different. It was just really a very different story, very different feel altogether. But I just thought that that's what you were talking about. And then when you told me that, no, they actually just a few years ago made this Christmas Story sequel, I was just shocked because, I'm so close to that story and, that movie that I was surprised that no one reached out and was like, hey, this is going on, do you have anything to do with it? Or
you shouldn't have let your Hollywood Reporter subscription lapse. That's probably what happened. That's how we found out about it.
Right. And I thought that I was going to have a chance to watch it prior to this interview. So I still have not, but I'm going to watch it for sure. Definitely before Christmas. And maybe even do a marathon.
It's still on HBO Max. So if you have
it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll watch it tonight then.
Yeah.
Or if you go to YouTube, I believe you can rent it off of there. And if you rent it off of YouTube, I actually get money from it. So,
all right. So, a word to our audience: stay away from HBO. Go straight to YouTube.
They're all going to go like, "Come on, I'm just going to watch it."
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, this one we actually get residuals for.
Nice. And is it called A Christmas Story, the sequel? What is it officially called?
Story Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see Peter's face on the title, and we did it, and it was bizarre, to show up.
Yeah.
And here we are. We are doing this again, and it really kind of when you have one of those dreams.
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
You wake up and you go, dude, I had this really crazy dream last night. I had this dream that me and all the cast members made a sequel to A Christmas Story. And Peter was there, and it wasn't a dream; it was real.
Yeah,
and
that's gotta fuck with you.
Any of the same locations?
No, because we shot everything in Bulgaria. Yeah,
that's odd.
Yeah, that seconds for a small suburban street in Indiana, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should mention that because you're thinking, how do you shoot Indiana in, Eastern Europe? And you have to build Indiana
Yeah.
is what they did. And so when I got there and got to the set, and Peter Billingsley was like, Ian, come on, let me show you what we did. And so we're in this, parking lot in the middle of Bulgaria, and there's this wooden fence. We walk through the wooden fence, and I can see off to the left the house. And you see the color of the house, like, okay, cool. They built the house.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then as you step through the gate, now, because I had lived in that neighborhood and that street for almost a year in an apartment across the street, it felt like you transported through this portal, that you went from Bulgaria right to Ohio.
Yeah.
They had built the entire block almost to scale. Like, to scale.
But why
Right.
would they do that when they could have just gone, to another neighborhood or something? That seems odd to go to Bulgaria and build this set.
Well, it
And they have
probably
these
did.
old
It
cars
probably
driving
didn't
through
exist, and it's cheaper, and labor,
It was-
and tax credits, and everything else. So
Exactly right. It was a lot cheaper to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
And I remember for me, there was one part of that set that I actually started tearing up. And the reason why is because when I stayed there, I had my dog Orwell. And then every morning I'd go outside and there was a balcony that I'd sit, I'd have my coffee, and Orwell would sit with me and he would howl at all the guests coming to, go see the house. So I always remember that. The little balcony has always meant a lot to me. And I looked, and right across the street was that balcony.
wow.
Oh, wow.
They had built the balcony. That's how detailed they wanted it to look like, the actual street, so you couldn't tell. And so I even told Peter, I go, that's the balcony I used to sit at, with my dog.
Wow.
And as soon as the movie came out, that's when I had to say goodbye to Orwell. So
Yeah.
it's all still like, holy shit.
Oh my God. It probably brought up all sorts of feelings that you just haven't felt for years. And I can't imagine what that must do. It's got to fuck with you a little bit to have this, experience as a child, have it recorded, relive it multiple times a year, and then go back to it and see everyone years later.
Yeah, it does have a lot of, there are so many different emotions that you go through, and it's hard to just focus on one. You kind of have to, organize them and appreciate all of them. There are the memories that you have. And now, after, working with the house, and because that's where, I found my dog when I was staying at the house, my dog Orwell, this guy right here, this
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
so adorable.
So, to me, the house is always going to mean, that dog. That's what the house is to me now, is that dog. You can see a little, memorial in the back.
Yeah.
And, so there's that now, that I have. And then there is, being a kid making a movie, and then what this movie has become, and then what we're doing now with it. So it's like, it's just, constantly, just a roller coaster in your head of, twists and turns and what this movie is. And it's always, it seems like every, so often, new memories, pop up because you make friends off of these things. So now I have friends, and there's been like girlfriends that I've met because of, being in this movie. So everything, but maybe that's just me and who I am, is I just, attach these things,
But isn't that in a way very similar to how people connect to the movie with their own lives?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because people will tell me.
Just yours is, behind the scenes.
Right. Like people will tell me, like, you know what, like maybe they lost a parent, and they'll tell me, it's like, this was the movie I used to watch with my parents every year. That's their connection,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing about this movie is, it's now, people tell me it's a family tradition, and they'll say, we watch it every year, Sometimes they don't even watch it. They just turn it on and just let it play.
Right.
Like Christmas music in the background.
Yeah.
So and I say, well, that's cool. You just know I don't get any money for that, right?
Well, and I want to, if it's okay with you, I want to make this a two-parter. And Tom, if it's okay with you too, because I think that we have some more stuff to talk about, beyond Christmas Story too.
Yeah.
But I'd love to wrap up this first part. Ian, I would love to hear your thoughts on just what you hope that people continue to take with them, when they watch this movie, what they should get out of it.
My perspective is, you know what? If you love the movie and it's one of your favorites, thank you. Keep watching it. It's the fans are the ones that are going to keep this movie alive, and that's how it's going to stay. It's going to become that family tradition, because it's not always going to be around forever. The marathon will eventually stop. Because like I said, this movie it's a generational marker, and the new generation, they like it, but it's they're more Elf or Christmas Vacation, as opposed to a Christmas Story. So
and even beyond that, the Alpha Gen Alpha, Elf is ancient.
Yeah, even Elf.
Christmas Story, Vacation. I mean or Christmas Vacation. That's something completely, for the old folks that are on Facebook.
It's a bit nippy. Did I say nipple?
Right. Yeah. No, they want to see, some AI generated thing. I mean, I don't know.
I almost was Rusty in that movie.
Really?
Yeah. It was between, I think, me, Johnny Galecki, and some other kid that I can't remember.
Oh my God.
We went to like the negotiating table for me to be Rusty.
You would have made a great Rusty.
It just, you know what? That would have been great, because then I would have had like the Christmas market. I would have cornered it, as far as like the nostalgia factor. Randy and Rusty, Chris.
That would have been cool.
So.
Well, in my mind, you still have that market.
You'll always
cornered.
be Rusty to me.
All right. Well, thanks, Ian, for this first parter. And to our listening audience, tune in next week and we'll do part 2 with Ian Petrella.
All right.
Man, he is cool and great stories.
Just have such fond memories of meeting him and working with him, on the Bob Clark documentary, Clark World. There are a few scenes. I meant to ask him about that. Maybe we'll have him back on and talk about A Christmas Story more. There's a couple of scenes that were omitted from the movie that I kind of touched on in the documentary. That curious if there's anything that he was in. There's like this Flash Gordon scene that I reference in Clark World, but again, it never made the final cut of the movie. But it was just such a cool time working with Bob. Such a cool time, being able to connect through Bob to Ian.
There you
All right,
go.
buddy.
All right, later,
dude.
Tom and D.
Two middle-aged idiots.
This podcast is produced by 224 Media with voice and audio support by Fry on the Fly Productions.